There's been a quiet storm brewing behind the scenes at Ibrox, and now Russell Martin has decided to pull back the curtain on what's really been going on. It all centers around one of Rangers' most talked about midfielders, a player whose name has been in every transfer gossip column over the past few weeks, Nico Raskin. For weeks now, whispers have been circling about possible moves, big money offers from abroad, and questions over whether the Belgian international would even still be wearing blue by the end of the transfer window. And until now, all of that had been met with silence from the manager. But today, Martin's given us a rare, candid insight into the reality behind the headlines. Before we dive headfirst into that saga, there's another story worth talking about: the situation in goal. Jack Butland, who had a rocky patch last season after losing his #1 spot to Liam Kelly for a spell, has made it crystal clear that he never once thought about walking away from the club this summer. That's despite the frustration, despite the competition, and despite the relentless pressure that comes with playing for Rangers. Speaking ahead of a crucial second leg in the Champions League qualifiers against Victoria Pleasant Butland reflected on what it means to represent this club, and how he's determined to prove himself all over again under the new boss. Rangers are heading into that second leg with a massive 3-0 advantage from the home tie, and if they can finish the job in the Czech Republic, they'll be looking at a playoff clash against either Club Brugge or RB Salzburg. For Butland, this is the kind of challenge that makes the hard days worth it. He spoke about the way this club constantly tests your character, not just occasionally, but every single day. And when you hear him talk, you can tell there's a deep sense of pride in being part of Rangers. He described himself as lucky to be here, hungry to succeed, and completely focused on doing whatever it takes to help the team hit the heights he knows they can reach. It's easy to forget in all the noise of results and league tables just how demanding the goalkeeper's role is at this club. Butland admitted that last season had its tough moments where outside voices were quick to question his place and his performances. But as he put it, there was never a second when he lost faith in the goalkeeper he is or the impact he can have for Rangers. He talked about spending the summer working relentlessly to get back to his absolute best, driven not by a desire to leave, but by a determination to stay, compete, and win. And so far this season, Martin's kept him as his first choice, a sign that the work is paying off. Butland says he feels there's unfinished business at Ibrox. He wants to be part of a side that's not just competing, but dominating. He's been impressed by the new manager's ideas, even if the transition hasn't been entirely smooth. Change rarely is. But for him, this is a fresh start worth fighting for. His goal is simple: to be the best version of himself and to drag a few of his teammates up to that level with him. Now onto the headline story, the Nico Raskin situation. Martin's revelation confirms what many suspected: the summer transfer chatter has taken a toll on the player. According to the manager, there have been no direct approaches to Rangers, but there's no doubt in his mind that calls have been going to Raskin himself. And when you're a young player in your mid-20s with your name being linked to big moves and big wages, that sort of attention can't just be shrugged off. Martin stressed that Raskin's professionalism has been spot on. He's still training hard, still focused, but admitted that the speculation has inevitably seeped into his mindset. Raskin started the season in the lineup for the opening 3 games, but when Rangers hosted Victoria Pleasant in that dominant 3-0 win, he was left on the bench. The same happening in the weekend's league clash with Dundee, though this time, he came on as a substitute and made a real impact in the 1-1 draw. For Martin, that response, coming on with energy influencing the game, said everything about the player's character. He explained that the decision to take Raskin out of the starting 11 was something they'd spoken about privately, and he praised the midfielder's attitude, since then calling him a fantastic player with a personality he's really grown to admire. But the real question is, will Raskin still be here when the window shuts? On that front, Martin was firm it would take an absolutely extraordinary offer to tempt Rangers into selling one of last season's standouts. He made it clear the club is not in a position where they have to sell anyone, and they certainly don't want to lose players who could still get even better, unless an offer comes in that ticks every box, works for the player, works for the club, and allows them to find a proper replacement. It's not happening. The message is simple: hands off, unless you're ready to put something truly staggering on the table. While all that is going on, the pressure on Martin himself has been steadily building. 2 draws from the opening 2 league matches away at Motherwell and at home to Dundee have left Rangers already trailing Celtic by 4 points. And while those Champions League wins over Panathinaikos and Victoria Plizen have been impressive, some supporters are already restless. It's the reality of managing a club of this size. Success in Europe is great, but slip up in the league and the criticism comes quickly. Former Rangers boss Michael Beale has stepped in to defend Martin, urging the fans to give him time. Beale knows the weight of that dugout as well as anyone. He admitted that while he started well during his own tenure, he eventually felt the heat too. Speaking recently, he said it's far too early to judge Martin, especially considering that some of his key signings haven't even been available yet. He pointed out that the performance against Victoria Plizen was strong, and if Rangers can reach the playoff round against Salzburg or Brugge, it would be a huge step forward. But Beale also reminded everyone that this summer has been something of a reset for the entire club. New owners, new ideas, new expectations, and all of that takes time to bed in. Yeah, there's a point Bill made that really hits home. Playing for Rangers is unlike playing anywhere else. No matter your experience, no matter the clubs you've been at before, the demands here are unique. You can feel it in the stadium. You can see it in the reaction to every win and every loss. For new players, it takes time to settle into that environment. And for a new manager trying to change the team's style and identity, it takes even longer. Martin himself has already been vocal about mentality issues within the squad, particularly after that opening day draw with Motherwell. It's a familiar theme. Previous managers like Philippe Clement and Barry Ferguson have said the same. And there are fears this is a deeper, more ingrained problem. But Bill, reflecting on his time both under Steven Gerrard and as manager himself, insisted that during his stint there was no mentality problem at all. In his view, the success of the Gerrard era came from stability, from having the time to build the squad in a specific way. Yes, there were bumps along the road, but they also had that remarkable unbeaten league season to show what was possible when everything clicked. Right now, for Martin, it's about navigating that fine line between making the changes he believes in and getting the results the fans demand immediately. The Champions League qualifiers have provided a boost, but the league is where Rangers will ultimately be judged. And with all this swirling, the Butland story, the Raskin speculation, the pressure of the title race, you get the feeling that the next few weeks could be pivotal, not just for the season, but for the direction of the club under its new leadership. When you take a step back and look at Rangers right now, you can see a club at a crossroads. On one hand, there's a clear attempt from Russell Martin to modernize the way the team plays. Quicker transitions, more fluid movement, braver on the ball. On the other hand, there's the reality of results-driven football in Scotland, where patience is always in short supply. That tension is building, and you can feel it in the air around Ibrox. Every misplaced pass, every missed chance in front of goal is magnified under the microscope, especially when your nearest rivals are already racking up wins. Inside the dressing room, that kind of pressure does different things to different players. The experienced heads like James Tavernier and Connor Goldson have been through enough battles to know how to ride the waves. They've seen seasons swing both ways, and they know the importance of blocking out the noise. But for some of the newer signings and the younger lads, adapting to life at Rangers is no easy task. It's not just about playing well. It's about playing well every single week under the expectation that second place isn't acceptable. You can't hide in this shirt, and Martin knows it. That's why the Nico Raskin situation is more than just a transfer rumor. It's a real test of the club's ability to keep its best talent grounded and focused. Raskin's a special player, one of those midfielders who can dictate the rhythm of a game without breaking a sweat. But the lure of a big move, the agents whispering in his ear, the constant headlines, those things can chip away at even the most disciplined mindset. Martin's approach has been to keep the conversation direct man-to-man. No sugarcoating, no mind games. Just an honest dialogue about where the player stands and what's expected of him while he's here. It's worth remembering that this is the same Raskin who played a massive part in last season's big games, the kind of matches that define a campaign. Taking him out of the starting 11 recently wasn't about punishing him. It was about resetting his focus. And the way he came off the bench against Dundee, driving forward, snapping into tackles, trying to make something happen, that's exactly the reaction Martin wanted. It's proof that the hunger is still there. And that's a good sign heading into the heart of the season. Meanwhile, Jack Butland's resurgence has been another subplot worth watching. There's something about goalkeepers and comebacks that just fits the Rangers story. Think back to the way Alan McGregor returned for a second spell and became a key figure again. Butland's path feels different, but the principle is the same. Finding your best form when the team needs it most. His clean sheet against Panathinaikos was more than just a stat. It was a reminder that when he's locked in, he's a match winner in his own right. And that matters because in European football, those fine margins are often the difference between progression and heartbreak. Rangers are in a strong position in their Champions League qualifiers, but nothing's done until the final whistle. A trip to the Czech Republic might look straightforward with a 3-goal lead, but complacency is the one thing Martin will be desperate to avoid. Win there, and the reward is huge. A playoff tie against Salzburg or Brugge, both sides with pedigree. Both sides that would push Rangers to their limits. But it's also the kind of challenge that sharpens a squad that forces players to hit levels they might not reach in domestic football. Domestically, though, it's a different story. 2 league games, 2 draws, and already people are talking about the gap to Celtic. It's a dangerous narrative because the season's barely started, but in Glasgow, it doesn't take much for the temperature to rise. Martin's been around the game long enough to know that every Rangers manager gets tested early, and how he responds over the next month could shape everything. He's trying to imprint a new style, one that requires players to think differently, to take more risks, to press higher, and play quicker. That's never a smooth transition, and doing it while under pressure for results is like trying to build a new house while living in it. Michael Beale's defense of Martin speaks to that. Reality. Whatever you think of Beale's own time in charge, he understands the environment better than most. His point about players needing time to settle is spot on. You can bring in a top signing from another league, but until they've felt the weight of walking out at Ibrox, until they've experienced an Old Firm match or the backlash after a bad result, they don't truly understand what it means. And that's why the manager's man management is just as important as his tactics right now. There's also the matter of squad depth. Rangers have been hit with injuries before the season's even properly started, and that's meant more shuffling than Martin would have liked. In some areas, like central defense, they're covered. In others, particularly midfield, losing a key figure for even a couple of weeks can completely change the dynamic. That's another reason why the Raskin decision is so significant. Keeping him engaged and informed could be the difference between keeping pace and falling behind. The supporters, for their part, are restless but still hopeful. They've seen enough flashes, like the home leg against Butland, to believe that this team can click. But they've also seen enough stumbles to worry that the old problems haven't gone away. Mental lapses, sloppy defending in key moments, wasteful finishing. These are habits that have cost Rangers in the past, and until they're stamped out, the doubts will linger. Martin's message has been consistent: trust the process. That's easy to say, harder to sell when results aren't perfect. But you can see the logic behind it. The team is creating more chances, they're controlling possession for longer spells, and the pressing game is starting to take shape. What's missing is the killer instinct to finish teams off. And that's something the manager is pushing hard to instill. Off the pitch, the new ownership structure is still settling in. There's been talk about changing the culture, modernizing the club's operations, and giving the football side the tools it needs to compete not just in Scotland, but in Europe. That takes investment both in players and in infrastructure, and it also requires stability at the top. Rangers have had too many seasons in recent memory where upheaval behind the scenes has filtered down to the pitch. If they can keep things steady and give Martin the backing he needs, there's a foundation to build on. The coming weeks will be crucial. There's the second leg in Europe League matches that can't afford more dropped points, and the looming test of the first firm clash. Those games aren't just about points, they're about setting the tone for the season. Win them and the narrative shifts. Lose them and the pressure doubles. It's the fine line that every Rangers manager has to walk, and right now Martin's balancing act is being watched from every angle. In all of this, players like Butland and Raskin will be central. One is fighting to re-establish himself as the undisputed number one. The other is navigating the pull of potential moves while trying to stay locked in on the task at hand. Both stories feed into the bigger picture. A squad in transition, a manager with a vision, and a club that demands nothing less than success. It's a long season and nothing's decided in August. But make no mistake, these early chapters matter. They set the pace, they build a belief, and they show whether this team has the steel to go the distance. For Rangers, the margin for error is always slim, and the next month will tell us a lot about just how far this version of the team can go. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The footballing grapevine in Glasgow has been positively buzzing this week with word that the Rangers have all but tied up a deal for the young championship fullback sensation, Harley Mills. Those who've been following the English second tier will already be familiar with the name. The lad's been catching eyes with his blistering pace, fearless overlaps, and a knack for whipping in dangerous crosses. Now, if the whispers out of Ibrox are to be believed, Mills is packing his boots for a move north of the border, with paperwork said to be in its final stages. Of course, nothing is signed and sealed until the ink's on the contract, and seasoned Gur supporters know that transfer rumors have a way of evaporating like mist over the Clyde. Still, multiple sources hint that the recruitment team has been tracking him for months, viewing him as an ideal long-term fit in the squad. The chatter has intensified after Mills was spotted in the vicinity of Glasgow last weekend, ostensibly for personal reasons, according to his current club, though few are buying that explanation. It's the sort of tantalizing possibility that has the terraces buzzing, the pubs debating, and the opposition quietly taking note. Should the deal indeed materialize, one of the most intriguing prospects lies in pairing Mills with RIDVAN on the opposite flank, creating a potentially devastating full-back duo for the Light Blues. Imagine it. Two marauding defenders, both blessed with pace, technical craft, and attacking intent, stretching play, and overwhelming opposing wingers. And midfielders alike. RIDVAN has already cemented himself as a fan favorite with his tireless runs and crisp deliveries, but adding Mills could tilt the balance entirely in Rangers' favor during tight Premiership battles. Tactically, it could offer Michael Beale, or whoever holds the managerial reins, a far wider set of attacking patterns, freeing the wingers to cut inside while the fullbacks supply width. There's a sense among some insiders that such a combination could mirror the famous overlapping partnerships of past Rangers eras, bringing back the sort of dynamic wing play that once terrorized defenses across Europe. Yet as with any football, there's a danger in getting carried away. Injuries, adaptation, and the rigors of Scottish football can test even the most promising talents. Still, the mere thought of Mills and RIDVAN bombing forward in tandem is enough to quicken the pulse of supporters who crave flair and aggression from the backline. The financial aspects of the potential move are shrouded in typical secrecy, with no official figures released. But the suggestion is that Rangers are prepared to spend a significant sum by their current standards. Mills, being young and English-based, doesn't come cheap, and championship clubs are notoriously stubborn in extracting value for their brightest prospects. Yet the investment might be justified if Mills becomes both a domestic force and a resale asset in the future, a model Rangers have increasingly pursued in recent years. Some in the Ibrox corridors believe this is precisely the sort of calculated gamble the club must take to bridge the gap with Celtic and to make a dent in European competition. Rumors of a structured deal involving add-ons based on appearances and continental success have surfaced in certain football forums, though no reputable outlet has confirmed them. What is certain is that Rangers' recruitment strategy has shifted towards targeting hungry, high-ceiling players rather than short-term veterans. If Mills fits that profile, as all signs suggest, then the move could be a statement of intent for seasons to come. Supporters, meanwhile, scour social media for any hint, a like on an Instagram post, a cryptic emoji that might signal the move's inevitability. Of course, not everyone is convinced that Mills would slot seamlessly into the Scottish game. Some pundits caution that the championship, while competitive, differs in style and tempo from the relentless physical grind of the Premiership. Fullbacks in Scotland are often expected to withstand more direct aerial bombardment while also contributing offensively in tight technical spaces against deep-lying opponents. Mills' defensive positioning, though much improved, has been questioned at times, particularly against inverted wingers who drift inside to overload central areas. Then there's the small matter of chemistry. Linking up with RIDVAN on the other flank might look perfect on paper, but it requires an understanding that only comes through time, training, and shared match experiences. Fans who remember other high-profile signings that failed to settle despite glowing reputations remain wary. And yet football is as much about belief and momentum as it is about tactical fit. Should Mills start strong, win a few key duels, and provide an early assist or two, the Ibrox crowd would likely embrace him wholeheartedly. In a city where football rumors travel faster than the wind over the Clyde, doubt and hope always seem to arrive in the same breath. As the days tick by and the January window edges closer to its opening, the air around Ibrox grows thick with expectation. If Mills walks out in a blue shirt come the first match of the new year, the atmosphere will be electric, with every run down the flank scrutinized for signs of the partnership to come with RIDVAN. The rumored deal, whether ultimately true or not, has already served its purpose in firing up conversations and stoking anticipation during a traditionally quieter stretch of the season. Rival supporters may scoff at the hype, labeling it typical transfer window fantasy. But Rangers fans know that sometimes, just sometimes, such whispers turn into game-changing arrivals. Until there's an official unveiling, the scarf above the head, the customary grin in front of the press backdrop, it all remains in the realm of possibility. But in Scottish football, possibility is often where the magic begins. For now, the faithful will wait, talk, speculate, and dream. Picturing the sight of Mills bursting past defenders, RIDVAN charging on the opposite wing, and the roar of Ibrox rising as another attack gathers pace. Whether rumor or reality, the thought alone is enough to warm a cold Glasgow night. Greetings, fans! Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comment section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.